Hello and welcome to the Al-Attiyah Foundation podcast. My name is Naweed Jabarkil. Today we're delighted to be joined by Mr. Michele De Capitani, a partner at Terra Early Growth Fund. Before joining the firm in 2024, he was CFO and Sustainability Officer at SACE, the Italian Export Credit Agency. Since 2021, Terra Early Growth Fund, a Swiss-based early growth fund with assets of $200 million, has been investing in market-ready circular economy solutions that generate tangible, measurable climate impacts while simultaneously delivering financial returns. Mr. De Capitani, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
We're very happy to have you here. Let's start then, Mr. De Capitani. Let's briefly talk about yourself, your background. Just give us an introduction and an overview of your professional experience and background.
Yeah, I've been working for 25 years in finance, mainly in industrial and financial services sector. I spent most of my career in the banking industry, and in the past 7 years, I joined the public sector in Italy with the Italian Export Credit Agency, where I had the opportunity also to be exposed to sustainability topic and helped me to take the decision to join the Cambridge Institute for Sustainability Leadership for my master degrees. So mainly I like a career in finance and recently with a focus on sustainability aspect.
And tell us about Terra's mission then. How does it support environmental, social and governance or ESG focused enterprises?
Well, Terra is a fund that I invested in, is an early growth fund, mainly focused on in circular economy, just to provide an impact from a sustainability perspective in reducing CO2 emission and plastic waste. It's a business to business, a B2B, mainly investing fund in sector where circular economy is more responsive. So we are targeting fashion and apparel, for example, packaging, food, waste management, advanced material. And the mission is to scale the company we are investing in as an innovative example in the circular economy area and provide scale for those companies to have the biggest impact possible.
And we've seen the ESG industry or area come under the spotlight in recent years. Talking about the circular economy transitions, just tell us a bit about the decision making that goes into these investments. How do you decide which ones are the right ones? What innovative approaches do you consider essential to trying to achieve that scale while also delivering financial results and sustainable impact?
Well, the key point is to target innovative business. The goal is to provide an impact at the biggest scale possible. So we need to be very careful of which kind of innovation we are targeting. If you go for a disruptive innovation, very difficult, you will have that impact in the time and in the pace that you're wishing for. So we need to target more at changing or adapting innovation rather than disruptive innovation. We need to provide the scale and the impact in the fastest and the best possible way. And when you are into a disruptive business model, this is very difficult to be achieved. While if you are targeting an existing business model and you see the opportunity to adapt that business model with some critical but small changes, you can infect the actual business model in a sustainable way, in a way then you can provide that circularity and impact then your mission is targeting without disrupting the entire supply chain. This make the scale and the change that we're targeting easier and faster compared to a completely disruptive business model.
And before you joined Terra, you were at the Italian Export Credit Agency, SACE, there as CFO and Chief Sustainability Officer. Tell us about how your experiences there influenced your transition into the world of venture capital and sustainability finance. Could you share with our listeners perhaps a couple of sustainability challenges you faced in that specific role, managing such a diverse global portfolio?
Yeah. SACE is the Italian export credit agency, is owned by the Minister of Finance. As per nature, is a job that gave me the opportunity to mix micro component in managing transaction deals, complex transaction deal, and macro component in taking a look at the overall economic scenario on a global arena. So the opportunity was great to have this privileged view to take a look at the global scenario, understand the dynamics of the global markets, and mix this opportunity with the detail that making like such a very complicated transaction are requiring. The policy, the mission of SACE was also to implement the government policy, the economic policy of the government, and sustainability was part of this policy. Of course, there were like many challenges given the magnitude of the scope of SACE. I can recall that, for example, implementing a way to calculate the impact that then the operation of SACE was providing was kind of complicated. We have tried to implement a way to assess the sustainability impact of such deals in order to consider the interrelation between all the 17 SDGs and not focusing only on one. This is used to call the nexus approach. And the second challenge is, of course, is when you go through any transformation project, you need to manage the mindset and the interest of multiple stakeholders. This probably is the biggest challenge in any environment that want to make such a transformational change to move through the normal way of doing business to a more sustainable way of doing business.
And water is one area that's absolutely vital, looking at the scarce resources when considering the future of energy and climate change. Despite groundbreaking solutions in water recycling, the likes of renewable desalination and advanced water saving technologies, many private innovators in the private sector still find it a struggle to secure adequate funding. What role do you think that sustainable finance can play in addressing those challenges, particularly in arid and semi-arid regions like here in the Middle East or places like North and Sub-Saharan Africa?
Well, to answer this question and to address this topic, we cannot avoid to touch what is the global scenarios today. We live in a poly-crisis scenario. We have economic crisis, environmental crisis, social crisis, geopolitical crisis. And in such a scenario, the multilateral process, they are so crucial to provide funding to a less fortunate area of the world is struggling. So the geopolitical tension are hampering the multilateral process is so useful for providing finance to such a project. There's a financing gap in natural-based solution, and water is one of those. Out of $1 quadrillion of US dollar in global market size, only 200 billion are natural-based projects. So this gives it a sense of how small is a percentage of finance and funding that are going to such a project. There is a need for a drastical restructuring of finance in general. We needed to have a shifting in industrial and financial policies with a new leadership for industrial and financial regulation and innovation. We need to have a shift in narrative and mindset to drive a sustainable change. And we need to shift of the core financial structure to a more holistic financial models that include externalities as well. To model the show what is possible and how to scale a new business, and finally to unlock transformative financial architecture with new mindset and leadership focus.
And you've been extensively working on cases of innovative solutions for non-performing loan recoveries as a tool essentially to provide necessary funding for sustainable initiatives. Based on that experience, just guide us through some restructuring sustainable solutions you've implemented.
Well, this was an example that we did in SACE as an innovative mindset. We took a tool that was already available at the OECD infrastructure and organization. It was a debt to nature swap. This was a tool that basically was allowing with a sovereign's debt to restructuring the debt or canceling the debt in exchange of a nature-based investment and project. And we asked ourselves how to use this tool for corporate exposure or non-performing loans or over sovereign exposure and non-performing loans involving sovereigns as well. And the idea was mainly to have the three actors involved into this transaction, the creditor, the debitor, and the planet, to be in a win-win situation. So the creditor was having his exposure restructure. He was gaining some positive externalities and improving the reputation, while the debtor was seeing his debt to be reduced or with a longer maturity, and it was actively investing in sustainability. Of course, the planet was benefit for this approach. So in a nutshell, was between debtor and creditor, there was an agreement to put some money on the table, so reducing the expectation to have the entire debt to recover or to repay the entire debt, and use that part and that the people was putting available for a sustainable investment. And the experience that we had then when you were putting some sustainable investment on the table as a part of the transaction, the two parts were more keen to find an agreement in a faster way and a better way for everyone.
And just to go back to your personal background, you have a postgraduate diploma in sustainability studies from the University of Cambridge and a degree in economics from the Università di Pavia in Italy. And where you've worked, it includes senior financial roles at UniCredit, Fineco, Capitalia, and GE as well, General Electric. How have those academic and professional qualifications guided your approach to combining the worlds of finance, sustainability, and leadership?
Well, I mean, I don't know for sure what was the key turning point and the help that my experience drove me in my career step. But I would say that I mean, managing complexity was part of the equation in any experience in the head. There were very complex organization. It was complex of managing my entrepreneurial attitude as well, and the complexity of managing people expectation and their different in personalities and characters. You don't have to forget that sustainability is a complex system that require new skills for systemic thinking and systemic changing. So I would say then my career has helped me in dealing with complexity to arrive to a point when I realized that to manage the complexity of sustainability, you need a change in paradigm in the new leadership skills, a new way of thinking and feeling the way of doing business.
And just to get your sense on the broader picture at the moment, we've obviously seen this pullback in ESG or climate-related policies from businesses, especially in the United States under the Trump administration, the second reiteration of that. What do you think corporate entities, how are they approaching sustainability in their business strategy? Do they still care? And is it risky for them to care publicly on the global stage?
I think that there are three ways of approaching sustainability on the corporate side. The one is, unfortunately, the most common one is to manage a sustainability requirement as a compliance requirement. So you care about reputational risk only and violation of rules, of course. Then there's a second evolution of a corporate mindset, which is managing share value. Basically, you don't really change that much the way of doing business, but you care how the impact of your current way of doing business have externally. And the third step, which is the final goal, is to change completely the way of doing business and adding a purpose, a real purpose to your organization, and considering a higher level of purpose that involve a broader level of stakeholder, including society and the nature and the environment.
And you're familiar with the COP processes, of course, given your time at SACE, the Italian Export Credit Agency. How do you think high-profile platforms like COP shape the perception and impact of sustainability finance for businesses as well as the general public? And what's your expectation of the upcoming COP30 that will take place in Brazil?
Well, COPA is quite has taken some criticism in the past. I think mainly from the pace to deliver progresses. I think that despite a small disappointment in the pace of delivering result, it's a great arena where people start to raise concern and bring attention to the sustainability challenges of the planet. As a matter of fact, there's been more result achieved and more decision achieved at COP than any other multilateral processes. I think from the next COP in Belém, there's an expectation to move from ambition to strategy. I hope that will be the COP, then we set an implementation plan to cutting emission, to start setting KPI from adaptation and understanding what to do from an adaptation point of view. And finally, we touched upon before to find a way to reduce the financial gap to finance and fund sustainable initiatives.
And one thing that COPs rely on essentially for a lot of the success and the outcomes is global collaboration, but there's a lot of geopolitical volatility across several countries and regions around the world currently. Do you think that's going to mean the momentum behind green initiatives is going to diminish? And have you noticed a slowdown in ESG-focused investing in projects?
I saw a slowdown and an experience and slowdown in the first logic than I described it before. So there's more and more corporate. They are decreasing focus on acting only from a pure compliance perspective. So the ESG regulatory reporting is losing a little bit of momentum and strategic position within the organization. But I saw on the other hand also a more focus and attention to readapt the business model to a more sustainable purpose. So a purpose-driven organization are getting more and more momentum, and this goes above and beyond the regulation. So I'm quite positive then we're going in the right direction here as well.
And just a final question, if I may briefly, Mr. De Capitani, a lot of our listeners are in the energy sector or related fields and in decision-making levels as well. What would your message be to them for why ESG should be and remain a priority for them and their businesses?
Sustainability should be a priority for everyone, not only from the energy sector. Within the word sustainability stay the reason for acting in such a way. You want to be sustainable. You want to be innovative. You want to stay alive from a longer period, longest period as possible from your business perspective. If you focus on that from an energy sector perspective, you need to go to a more differentiated way of energy sources, to more renewable sources, to more clean energy, because it is a way to survive. Not only survive as a human being on this planet, but survive as a business as well.
Great, Mr. De Capitani, that's the all we have time for and concludes our interview. On behalf of the Al-Attiyah Foundation, I'd like to thank you for joining us today and providing our listeners with your valuable insights on the sustainable finance industry and your work at Una Terra. The foundation very much looks forward to continuing the conversation with you in the future.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you again.
Great. We look forward to talking again. And thank you, of course, for listening. A new Al-Attiyah podcast will be released in the coming weeks.